Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, good. Because we need to be good. We need to be good at everything. We need to be better at everything.
Just jumping right
We need to
in.
improve.
Yes.
This podcast.
Got it. Everything.
Every aspect of our lives we need to improve upon and be good at stuff.
Can't be sitting on status quo.
Right.
And stagnant. You
Want
gotta
to rise
go
above.
up. Be
Cream
better.
with a crop.
Be better than you were. Always. Don't accept who you are.
Exactly.
Ever.
Always improve. Always improve. Or do we need to do that?
Well,
Ooh.
I don't. This is the thing. There is. I think that we have gotten to a place, not you and I, just people, that the term self-improvement is an absolute good. And I think for the most part, it has to be, right? It has to be. Like the idea of doing self-improvement has to be good. But let's dive in. And we're not going to just make this podcast about diving into what is bad about self-improvement, but we have to at least acknowledge that there is a line to be danced upon in regards to when you go out on a journey to improve something about yourself or something about your life or your standing or whatever. At what point are you going a little bit too far? Right?
Yeah.
What can we do?
Well, it is human nature, right? To want to be better at stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we strive to impress, right? We want to make people see that we're awesome. You know, we want people to believe that we're awesome at stuff. You know, pick your thing. You know, look at the health and wellness industry. They're making bank because of this desire that us humans have to be better at things. I mean, I've read countless books. You know, not that reading a book is going to make me better. You actually have to do stuff. We can talk about that too. But you know, some people it's innate. You know, it's just innate. Like for me, you obviously know, and all of our listeners know that I'm always on a journey to get better at stuff, and that stuff is a pretty long list for me. I'm always, whether it's technology, improving the quality of the show or my streams or my videos, or all the way down to my physique, you know, and improving my health, you know, is a big thing too. And we can talk about that because a couple years ago I saw a doctor and he wasn't too happy with me.
Yeah.
So that led me to go in a direction as well. And I think there's a myriad of different ways to improve things, whether it be a personal journey or a product that you're producing of some sort, or maybe it's at work, you know, you want to be better at your job so you can get promoted and you have dreams of making more money or whatever. There's lots of different avenues in this realm of talking about improvement and self-improvement that we can dive into. So where do we start today?
Well, I think we should talk a little bit about your journey that you've recently had, because you've made a massive turnaround in your life and your health standing. And this is, in my opinion, this is where it's an absolute good. Like what you did for yourself is having far more benefits than just health, right? Like you're obviously going to have a better quality of life, but you're also going to have better esteem. You're going to have, you're going to feel better about yourself, not just feel better from an energy standpoint, but you're going to have better optics in regards to where you currently stand in this world, because what you had going on before was pulling you down as normal human behavior. And you didn't take any shortcuts. You didn't take any easy path to get there. You took the hard route. You did,
Literally.
Yeah. The 75 hard, but it's more than that. Like, there's so many shortcuts that you could have done. And a lot of people have done that. And you've done some of those shortcuts in the past. And we're going to talk about that too, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
And I think because you went through the grind to get to the other side, you were able to find a new respect for what it is to be healthy and what it is to look good and to do all that. I mean, we've seen this before. I'm in my own rut, and maybe one day I'll be able to, you know, hopefully come out of it or whatever. And that's a topic of its own, but I'm able to contribute to this because if we rewind the clock many, many years ago, I had a very similar journey like this, where I cut a ton of weight, put on a lot of muscle, this is years ago, right? And we can talk about the type of shape I was in back then before the CrossFit days or whatever. And then when that chapter of my life came to be, and I went from being somebody who was very heavy drinker, terrible eater, I was never a heavy smoker, but I was a smoker. We're talking a very long time ago. I mean, really, really sprinting to my grave. And I turned that around and was able to, I think I lost like 50 pounds. And that was including also putting on probably about 20 pounds of muscle, and obviously quit all the vices and ate well and all that, and went into a realm. Well, then I was coaching CrossFit. So, I mean, that was a fun journey to go on. Right. And so I'm able to speak to it from that perspective, but I want us to be clear here. We're not just talking about, just physique. We're not just talking about, that's not what this is. This is the notion of self-improvement. When is it healthy? When is it too much? What is it what are some of the flags in regards to, am I going a little too far here? So first, let's go to do us a favor, us meaning me and the audience, because it's freshest in your mind. Go back to right before the 75 hard. Because if you remember, we had Claire on the show, and that was sort of your catalyst. That was your trigger.
Yeah. I think I was getting close. I mean, I'll go back and kind of explain kind of how I got there. Yeah. Right. So obviously, the pandemic, I think a lot of people fell into the, kind of stuck at home. All the gyms kind of closed down, and it was easy. So it became easy to just order food and have it delivered to your door, because like we felt like we couldn't go out or whatever. I was busy doing a ton of content, right? Like at the time, we were just trying to make as much content as we could to give people something to do, to entertain them, to get their minds off of the pandemic and things like that. And during that time, and not that I was like super healthy before or anything like that, but during that time, I definitely let myself go, pretty badly, and I had gotten to a level that was the worst I'd ever been, physique wise on the scale, and ultimately the way I felt was a big problem. And so I went to a doctor and just was like, hey, just do like blood checks and tell me where I'm at. And of course, after all the checks, it was like, yeah, you're like really hypertensive. Like your my blood pressure and stuff was really, really bad. And it started to explain a lot of things, actually. Like remember how I always talk about how I like sweat for no reason? We make jokes like I sweat when I get out of bed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was because of my blood pressure. It was because I was hypertensive. I literally had really, really bad blood pressure and probably should have been on medication and stuff like that. The doctor I went to, he wasn't big into medication. He's like, you should do this like the natural way. You know what I mean? Like eat better,
good for
exercise.
That doctor.
They did like give me some supplements and stuff like cinnamon and ginseng and whatever supplement would help with all that. And I was taking those for a while, and they were helping, but I never really like made the rest of the changes that he was talking about. And my wife and I, we both had tried like every diet basically that existed, from Atkins to keto to what was those drops you put in, HCG or something, where you basically starve yourself to trick your brain into thinking that you're not starving or whatever. Like we tried everything, and like none of it was really working. But that was because if we go back to the podcast we did, the What's Stopping You podcast, I know we bring this up all the time, but it was one of my favorites. Because we talked about it. You kind of want something, or you really want something. Well, I kind of wanted it. All those years that I was trying to get it right, I just kind of wanted it. I didn't actually like really want it. The switch hadn't flipped for me. And for whatever reason, when we had Claire on the show, it was like I was trying to flip the switch, but like she just like pushed my finger a little bit more. It was just that extra little bit, and it was like click. And then it was like, that was it. That's what I needed. And I was all in, 100% in. And that's when I had off camera, we talked to Claire, and she had talked about her husband getting through the 75 hard. I don't even know how it came up. I'm pretty sure that was off camera talk after the interview was over.
Well, okay. I remember now
about her husband doing it.
Well, yeah, but we were talking about basically her journey in all this. Mm-hmm. So I think it was her husband that had done the 75 hard, come out the other side with a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And when she was working hard doing her thing, and he was the one to say to her, you're not eating enough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, go back to when we were kids. And again, I don't want to make this podcast a weight loss podcast. I don't want to make it that, but this has a lot of, it has a lot of applicability to what we're talking about. When we were kids, and for the longest time, it felt like if you want to lose weight or whatever, you got to eat less. And that was just like, it was drilled into us.
It's all just about calories, right? We burn X amount of calories per day.
Yeah.
And a pound is 3,500 calories. So if you can consume less calories than what you're burning, and eventually you burn off 3,500 calories, you might lose a pound.
Right.
Like there's all this, like the math of calories, which isn't an exact science.
It's
by
not
the way.
exact science. And there's obviously some merit to having a caloric deficit can help attribute to weight loss. There's obviously merit there, but it's more along the lines of the macro thing was about like your body it's a factory. It's more of a factory. It's not a storage unit, right? There's processes going on in there. And if you feed it all the right stuff at the right time and do the right activities, it becomes very efficient and whatever. So that's how Claire learned that her husband was like, you're not eating enough, or maybe it was that you're not getting enough protein specifically. I don't know. But that's how we got into it. And I think that you had tried the 75 hard on like 2 or 3 times before.
At least.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's an app for it, right? Which I think I had to pay for many years ago, but there was an app for it. And I remember going into the app to start the last one and seeing all these entries of my 75 hard day 1. And that was it. Day 1 entries. I started day 1, basically failed day 1 multiple times. So if we don't count those, sure, I probably gave it about 3 good efforts, maybe 4 good efforts of trying to get through it.
Or you made it several
Where I've
weeks
made it at
in.
least, 5-6 days plus.
No, but you had one where you went like in the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah, I had one where I made it like 33 days or something like that, which is pretty good. But ultimately, I remember that one failing because of my pull towards alcohol.
Yeah.
I was a drinker, I don't know if I would have classified myself as an alcoholic by any means, but I enjoyed to have adult beverages almost, nightly, at least a few. And the pull was there. When you get into those habits, you have that mental pull. Your brain's like, do it again. This is what we do. We sit down on the couch, we watch TV, we watch a show,
relax.
we have a couple drinks, we unwind, we had a rough day. And so I remember that becoming the pull that made me fail. And so I knew like alcohol was going to be a tough step because in the 75 hard, no alcohol. Like it's literally one of the rules. Yeah. And you got to go 75 days, which is almost enough to form a new habit. I think there's research out there that says it takes like 90 days or something like that. I can't remember, but you can almost get a new habit. But when you have like, if it is an addiction or at least a mental addiction to it, I think it goes beyond that. If you think about, you said you were, used to be a smoker, and do you still have those moments where like a little bit of pull, even a little bit of pull, like,
No.
oh, it's raining out. I used to smoke in the rain. Oh, a cigarette would be nice right now.
Okay, that's fair. Actually, there are situational things that remind me how nice it once was to have a smoke in the rain or whatever.
I'm not saying you would cave and do it. I'm saying like your brain still kind of tricks you into thinking for half a second that, oh, that might be nice or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, and this is, my situation is a little bit different because once I quit, I'd quit for 2 years and then I picked it back up a little bit like an idiot. And it was not long after smoking sent me into a massive relapse point in the hospital.
You have a big red flag that's going to keep you from doing it again.
You have MS, do not smoke. That's a very bad
typically
thing.
Anybody that has, a habit they formed, it's going to pull them, I think, even after many years of not doing that habit.
I think so. I think that's normal.
Whether it's eating or drinking or smoking or whatever, addiction is addiction. I think it's a tough one to break. So, but anyway, I knew I had to make a change. And honestly, when it comes to like making these kind of changes, my brain, and I think I'm not alone here, it typically says, go for it, hard, all or nothing type thing. And that's the reason why I've failed many times is because when you try to go from 0 to 60, that's rough. Like it's just too much. And most of the time I couldn't handle it. Well, I did things a little differently this time. I approached everything that I felt was a contributing factor one by one. So I knew that I was not good at sleeping. I was having an issue with sleeping. I was like an insomniac. People would ask, why are you on Hermitcraft at 3 a.m? And I'm like, because I can't sleep. I woke up and I couldn't go back to sleep and all that. And it was actually when we were in Detroit for the Gamers Outreach, which was just over a year ago now. We were in Detroit and we were doing the Hermitcraft peeps that went to Detroit for that. We went off and had ourselves a good time, hung out in a house and just spent a week together. And in that house, we discovered that Martin had sleep apnea. And Martin's shared this story before, so I'm sure he's okay with this. But I was asking Martin about his sleep apnea, and he was explaining to me what led up to him getting diagnosed. And my brain was like, oh, that's me. Like, that's exactly what's happening to me. I hate sleeping. I feel like I don't ever get a good night's sleep. I wake up foggy brained and tired and never feeling fully rested. And he's like, you should get it checked out. And like Martin encouraged me to go get it checked out. And so when we got back from that trip, I went and I got diagnosed. I went to a sleep center and all that stuff and did the whole bit. And they're like, you have bad sleep apnea, like one of the worst they've seen.
You die on average 4 times a night.
Exactly. Yeah. And you joke, but you're literally depriving your brain of oxygen. Yeah. You're suffocating your brain every night. I would stop breathing for enough that it was bad. I was like literally killing my brain cells because I was depriving it of oxygen. And in doing so, you wake up and all that stuff. And so you're not ever getting well rested. So I had to bite the bullet and get a CPAP machine to help me breathe, which is not awesome. It's not awesome. It sucks.
It's uncomfortable.
Constantly have a line in the side of my head now from the mask and stuff. Like, and for a while, my face didn't like the latex or whatever heck the mask was, and I was getting like breaking out and getting rashes and all sorts of stuff. And but I'm used to it now, but it still sucks, to have to. We traveled for a Seattle trip, and I had to bring the machine with me. I had to bring it as a carry-on because it couldn't fit in my luggage. But it changed things right away. Like, I got a good night's sleep and I felt like a completely different person. And from there, it became a bit of a snowball effect. Now I'm well rested, so I'm not as foggy brain, not as tired. Now I can make better other decisions in my life. Typically, I would wake up in the morning, 1, not well rested because I had sleep apnea and didn't actually sleep that night. 2, probably had a bunch of beers the night before. You know what I mean? So that was also not helping my sleep. In fact, when I first got diagnosed with sleep apnea, the doctor was like, how much do you drink? And I told him, and he's like, if you just quit drinking, you might not have the sleep apnea problem, which I don't think is true because I talked to another doctor and they said it might not be true. But anyway.
Maybe it's true for some people.
Yeah, it could be true for some people. That might have solved it on its own. But I knew that the drinking was also not helpful at all to me feeling good the next day. So I was like, okay, if I can cut that out, maybe I'll wake up feeling a lot better rested because I'm actually taking care of my sleep apnea, not drinking. So I'm not waking up with like a hangover or getting foggy sleep because I went to bed drunk or whatever. So I cut that out. And next thing you know, I woke up and I would wake up at a decent time and had the energy to start working out. And so I would start working out little by little. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh, working out's like kind of giving me these endorphins. They're making me feel even better. So you can start to see like a snowball just kind of gathering as it's traveling down the hill. Next thing you know, I got some more energy. I want my workouts. I want my workouts to be good. And I knew if I ate poorly, that I wouldn't be able to work out as hard the next day. So now I start changing my diet a little bit. And so things were just slowly coming together little by little before I did the 75 hard. Because if I jumped right into the 75 hard without fixing all those other little things that were dragging me down, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh, he changed his life overnight and just jumped into the 75 hard and it was life changing. No, I had to address like every little thing holding me back first, one by one. And it literally was that. It was like I was putting my crosshairs on something. I fixed my sleep. Now I fix my drinking. Now I fix my workout schedule. Now I fix my eating. You know what I mean? And that's how I kind of got to that stage because 75 hard, if you look it up, it's pretty much all that, hydration as well, stay hydrated. And it does matter. Like I have, since I've done the 75 hard, I've gone back and forth between how much I hydrate. Just as kind of like I like testing things out. So I went through a period to where I was not hydrating. I think I had about half the water that I would typically have.
So about half a gallon a day.
Yeah, about half a gallon of water. Next thing you know, dude, I was foggy brained again.
What?
Yeah, I was feeling the same foggy brain effects that I had when I was having bad sleep and waking up after a night of drinking.
Wow.
And it was from not having enough water. And so I upped my water intake and I was back to normal. It was weird. So I'm like, okay, so hydration does matter. You know, maybe a full gallon of water a day is a little over the top, but there is something to be said there about knowing what hydration levels you need.
Yeah.
And it's really just about being in tune with what your body's doing.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's what led me up to actually being able to conquer, I guess if you want to call it that, the 75 hard. You know, I was getting there, and then once Claire mentioned it, and I got to give full credit to my wife as well, because my wife had secretly been wanting to do the 75 hard and just was afraid to mention it to me because she knew I wasn't ready yet. She knew I hadn't flipped the switch. And so she'd been holding back. We had the conversation with Claire, and like that day I mentioned it to my wife. I'm like, I'm thinking about the 75 hard again. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been wanting to do it. I was thinking about doing it myself because I knew you weren't there yet. And so we're like, let's do it together. And that's another key learning, you know, is having a partner that you can trust and rely on to like hold each other accountable is huge. You know, whether it's a friend, a family member, a loved one, whatever, or just a support group that you find online. I think having somebody that can help hold you accountable, because I don't think I would have ever made it through the 75 hard either if it wasn't for her. Yeah. There was many days where I wanted to quit, and I would have if I was by myself. But I was like, I'm not going to do that to her, because I'm like, she's in it to win it. Maybe she wasn't, and she didn't say anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like maybe mentally she was also like having the same thoughts.
I'm sure she was.
But because neither one of us wanted to drag each other down, instead we propped each other up.
Yeah.
And so we were able to get through the 75 hard together, and it was huge.
You both had tried the 75 hard together in the past as well, and you didn't make it through. What was different then than this time?
Well, I think the accountability was big, but I think it was just finally we had enough. You know what I mean? Like we both kind of knew the drinking thing was holding us back the most, because that's what made us fail. That time that we went really strong, we made it 33 days, and we knew it was a drinking that was the problem. The pull back to drinking. We also knew that drinking was a catalyst for snowballing in the wrong direction. Right. When you drink, you wake up not feeling good, which means you're not going to work out. And then you don't feel good. So you eat bad, and it's a bad snowball, right? You snowball the other direction. So we knew, like, if we just really, really focus on winning that battle, that we would probably be okay. And we both just said, this is enough, you know, like we're done with this. We're done with the drinking thing. All right. So you guys have found yourself on the other side of the 75 hard, and now you're doing more. You're doing it again or something to that effect. Yeah. There's the 75 hard is 75 days there's a whole checklist of things. And then they have what they call phase 1, which I still don't know why they call it phase 1. But phase 1 was like 30 days, so not a full 75. So 30 after doing 75 days, 30 days feels like it's a blink. You know, it's nothing. Yeah. I can do that in my sleep. But you add more stuff to it. Like I had to add my own things like meditation, journal. Actually, it adds meditation, but I added journaling. I added cold plunge. We have one of those ice bath things with a cooler that keeps the water cold. Added that to it. I added like flossing because I hate flossing, and so I was just decided to whatever. It's good at dental hygiene. So that was phase 1. We did that a while back, a couple months ago. We got through that phase 1, and then there's a phase 2, which is just the 75 hard, but in 30 days. It's just like I need to remind myself I can still do this. Sure. Basically, the guy that wrote the program kind of understood, like, after X amount of time, human nature will start to fall back into its bad habits. You know what I mean? Or back into the comfort zone, right? 75 hard takes you out of your comfort zone. It's not easy. That's why it's called 75 hard. And so it's like, okay, they even force you to wait 30 days before you can start this next phase. And that's so that, you give yourself that time to remember comforts, I guess, and kind of forget the challenge. And then, so now we're on phase 2 of it, and I'm 11 days into that. No, more. Something like that. Anyway, somewhere I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the middle of phase 2. So I'm doing it again. But at this point, we've spent, 75 plus 30 plus another 10. That's what, 116 days or something. Math, whatever. It's
crazy.
We've spent doing all these things. Yeah. And so it's almost become second nature. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy. But it's become kind of like part of our habits. Which are good. We've built up good habits by forcing ourselves to do this challenge.
All right, you guys. Well, you took the scenic route on that one because that was a very tough thing you guys did. This is not. It's super hard what you guys did, and you dug in. You know, neither one of you was looking for an overnight fix or whatever. And in terms of both being on this joint venture for self-improvement, you both admitted to yourselves this is going to suck. And that's kind of awesome.
You got to kind of embrace the suck.
You got to embrace the suck, right? And then that's what that is. This is going to suck. This is going to be brutal. I remember when I was going through my own journey back in the day, I was nervous to even step through the door because a CrossFit gym is very, very brutal, right? And especially when you've been doing nothing.
I threw up after my first CrossFit workout, and then I got yelled at for throwing up.
Yeah. You didn't get yelled at. You were just told to not let that be normal.
Don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Don't ever work out so hard you throw up.
Yeah. We're intense here, but you don't need to puke. That's what that was. Yeah.
that was me not understanding where the limits,
where the line is, right? And I remember, and all I knew is that I'd kind of hit rock bottom. Sometimes people have to hit rock bottom to come out, or to even see if they have a chance of coming out. Mm-hmm. And I had kind of hit rock bottom, and I was just like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk into that gym and I'm going to say, I'd like to sign up, please. That's my goal. That was my goal. I'm going to walk in and say that line. And so I walked in and said that line, and it was just terrible. And I was jumping in the head first into the deep end and giving it everything I could. And I just sort of embraced the suck. You're right. It was embarrassing to be working out with so many people that were just in incredible shape, and I couldn't do the simplest of things is what it was. And just kept going and started eating better. And you fast forward the clock. Like I said, next thing I know, I'm coaching there and doing that whole thing, and that felt good. And I was able to come through it. But you're right. You embrace the suck and you come out the other side. And here's the bottom line. This is what I'm driving at. Why did I do that? Well, I did that because I hated the way I felt. I hated the way that I looked. I hated that I was so out of shape, especially somebody who, I used to be a gymnast. I used to be like really shredded. I used to be in good shape. Like that's hard to swallow. You know, aging is a hard pill to swallow. And when I just decided to go for it, that's what it was. I just went for it. I was in a bad place. I could admit I was unhappy with where I was. Self-improvement was imminent. Okay. You and your wife have come a long way. You're both doing great. And I think it's great that you want to keep going. But how do you feel about Impulse today?
Oh, I'm close to where I want to be.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah. I'm close to where I want to be. There's a little bit of room. I'm like, if I could just, maybe a couple more pounds, maybe a little bit more muscle here or there or whatever. That's the physique I want. But honestly, like if I just froze myself right now, I'm fine. I'm happy. Like I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like I won't beat myself up about not getting to that next little bit that I wanted to get to.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I honestly like all that journey was about mainly for me was how I felt. Like I knew a year ago that I wasn't right. Like I didn't feel good. Every day I did not feel good. I was like I said, foggy brains, lack of energy. It was taking everything I had to stream, to get through a stream and be upbeat and like on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even our podcasts and stuff. There was a few podcasts like I remember vividly when we recorded the podcast with Scott Major. I was hurting that day.
Were you?
I was in trouble that day. I was barely with it because I was just another night of drinking, another night of not sleeping. Things had added up, and that day I remember I was not with it. And thank God that Scott was a great guest, and I didn't feel like, and you obviously probably carried from the interviewee side. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I just remembered coming in that day and being like, oh crap. And I got to the point where I was like, I am tired of this affecting my job, what I do, and I know I could be better at this job, and I know I could make better content, and I know I could uplift people more. I know I could be more energetic and have more fun streams and make people laugh and be more witty and all that stuff. But my brain's not working. Yeah. I don't have the energy for it. And so I really wanted to make a change there. I wanted to fix that, and so that I could be a better a better content creator, a better person, you know, in general, you know, just be here, you know, mentally and physically. And I knew that wasn't going to happen unless I made those changes. And so that really helped to flip that switch for me. It was just time. I was just tired of talking about it. I was tired of whining about being out of shape, you know, and whining about being tired. I just wanted to figure it out. And I knew that I can't do what I always do. I can't just all or nothing. I can't just make that change overnight. And so I took a different approach. And I literally think like what you said, take the small step. You know what I mean? Because that's the hardest part. It's just that first step.
Yeah.
Take and make that step small. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is. Yours was I'm just gonna go in the gym and say I'm signing up.
Words.
Don't even worry about what else is next.
Yeah.
You know, like so if you do want to like get into a gym, maybe that's your thing that you want to work on, your self-improvement item, right? Then don't worry about getting in the gym and going for a full hour as hard as you can on day one, because you're gonna be so sore you're gonna want to quit the next day anyway. Don't worry about that. Just put your shoes out, so that when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, I put my gym shoes out. I think I'll put them on. You know, just take one step in the door. Just go to the counter and sign up. Don't worry about what's next.
Yeah.
Maybe not even go to a gym. Maybe just do one push-up. You know what I mean? Do one push-up. Your brain's going to tell you that's not enough, but it is. It's enough. It's enough to get started, and that's all you need to do. You just need to get started.
Yeah, you got to aim small and just knock the pin down one by one. Because when you try to take on the whole thing, that's when you're at risk of it all being shut down.
And that's why I think it worked this time for me, was because
that's smart.
I zeroed in on one thing at a time, and I aimed small. You know, although with the sleep apnea, that was a big deal. Like that turned out to be a much bigger deal.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that's right on layer 1 of Maslow's pyramid. Sleep is part of the physiological layer, and you weren't getting it, and it was affecting everything.
Yeah. So that made me have more mental clarity to be able to approach the harder stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a big deal. But yeah, I think thank you for, you know, recognizing the work and stuff. I mean, it's tough to talk about, you know, like for me, because I don't do well with compliments. I just don't know how to react properly. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's hard to explain. Do you have that issue when people compliment you? It's like, thanks. But you know what I mean? Like I do internalize it almost too much, but I don't want to over express that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I think, I don't know. I think, I don't know how I take it. I appreciate when people say kind things or whatever, but I don't buy it. I buy that they think it. I don't buy it. You know what I mean? Like,
so you have like a little imposter syndrome that kicks in?
Well, sure. I guess I don't care. I whatever. I got my own issues, but I don't know. I am able to take what they say and very much appreciate it. It doesn't mean that I believe what they're saying. And I also don't think they're lying. You understand? It's just the way it is. But the small steps thing is very, very smart. So I've been wanting to build this new studio in this other room in my house for a while. Mm-hmm. That room it's sort of become like the storage room, right? So it's got, even though that there's a desk with a computer in there, it's not where I operate, but there is just so much in there, including a big drum set. You know what I mean? Like an actual actual drums, you know? Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I want this room to be where I want it to be. I would really like to stream me, you know, ripping the carpet out and painting and doing the whole thing. I'm thinking about doing this, but none of that matters to me. I'm just going to tear down the drum set and pack it away. That's what I'm going to do. That can't be that big of a deal, right? So I did. I did it like, I don't know, 2 weekends ago or whatever. And I went in there and I'm like, God, it just like brought back. I remember what it was to be in a band. And every time we go play a show, I'm like, I hate tearing this drum set down every time. You know what I mean? Every time. But I'm like, I'm just going to do that. And I did. And I took the whole thing down. And it was just doing that opened up a giant chunk of real estate in the room that I'm like, and just the progress was a bit of endorphins. That was me getting some good sleep. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which was your first step. You know what I mean? So now it's like, now I'm excited about the next step. And so that's where like self-improvement can be looked at as a form, as a process. There's a protocol to it. You know what I mean? There's steps to get there. Nobody can get from ground zero all the way up to the 10th floor in a single leap. Nobody can jump that high.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't even jump one story at a time. It's one step at a time. Just look at that step and just go for it.
But if you think, oh, there's 10,000 steps to get to where I want to go, it's overwhelming. It's daunting.
Just look at that first step.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, just go for that first step, and then think about the next step, and then every step you actually start to feel like, oh, I'm doing something. And then you almost remind yourself that doing hard things is good for the soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because we forget we're conditioned. We're humans. We want everything to be easy. Yeah. You know, I want my food to be a pill form so I don't have to make dinner. You know what I mean? Like make my life as easy as possible. We all want that, right? But in doing so, we get complacent and we get comfortable and we forget that doing hard stuff actually, like, humans need that. Yeah. We need that. It gives us endorphins.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is. There's something to be said for just what hard, like the fruits of your labor is what they call it, right?
Yeah.
Is when you're working hard for something. And when people are given everything, we've talked about this before, when people spoil their kids, you're literally spoiling them. You're ruining their ability to be independent. You're taking away the opportunity in life that exists in all of us to learn what it is to survive on our own, what it is to thrive on our own, what it is to be independent, to get yourself into a state to where now you can support others and stuff. You're robbing them of that ability to do that. And that's why they're not going to get hired. Nobody wants to work with somebody that expects everything to come their way. Yeah. This is such a testament that everything is going to take hard work. It just is. It's just the way it is. And that's healthy. I think that's okay. Right. But I want us to talk about, because I really, really enjoyed what you just said when I said, what do you think of yourself now? And you're like, I like where I'm at. That was so good to hear, because I was afraid that you weren't going to be there, because it's not necessarily in your nature to sit still, which is not a bad thing.
Oh, I'm not sitting still.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not, but you've always, it's never been good enough. Right. Yeah. And so now let's shift gears and let's go into the world that we both work in, which is content creation. This is a world where, I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody in content creation, because, well, we've had, like, B-Dubs is the perfect example of what it is to be totally, totally healthy in this world. I don't think I'm healthy in this world, because I'm never happy. I'm having a good time. I'm liking what I'm doing, but I'm not pleased with where I'm at. You know what I mean? So why not? Because where I'm at now was a dream to me a year ago. So why all of a sudden am I not pleased with where I'm at? Because I've attributed growth with the only sign of success, which is interesting in this world. If we want to be good in this realm, what is good? Is it having 100,000 subs? Does that mean that you made it? Is it having 1 million subs? Does that mean you made it? I don't know. Apparently none of it means anything, because if today your channel stopped gaining subs, you would think you're failing.
Yeah. Right.
That's the way we operate in this world. And that's just weird. It's like, if we're not, so let's pretend, instead of the content creation world, let's pretend we went to be actors, right? Let's just say that. If you're not in the top 100 in the Actors Guild or whatever, for most renowned actors or whatever, then you haven't made it yet. And then boom, you make the top 100. Well, then you're in spot 99. And then 3 years later, you're in spot 99. I wonder if that person feels like they're not succeeding. What's the goal? To be the number one? Is it once again an unattainable thing? Is our form of self-improvement in this world of content creation so fantastically skewed that we're just never going to think that we've been successful? And I'm just speaking for myself right now, but I'm stuck. You know what I mean? Like, so here's the world. I wanted to improve my life, and I did. I'm not working a corporate job anymore, and I'm working with great people, and I'm working for great people. Like, the audience has just been such a incredible support system. But anytime I have a video that's not the best video I've ever done, to me, I chalk it up as some form of failure. And self-improvement is an improvement of my life is now on the faltering edge of things. And that can't be right. So that's the unhealthy line I'm hoping to kind of unpack here. And how do we manage that? How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not there yet. I don't have that answer, because I am constantly, and this is something I am trying to fix, right? And we talk about self-improvement. like I said, I'm not sitting still. I see faults in the way I am all the time, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how to fix them, right?
Yeah.
That's the nature of self-improvement. And that is one of them. There's constantly I could be better if I learned this, if I got funnier, if I had more self-confidence, if I knew these techniques, if I had the vision of great cinematographers, you know what I mean? Like, I could make better content, all this stuff. You have like all these bars that you kind of like are out there and you're trying to get to. And the problem is you're never going to get there, right? This is the downside that we're talking about. You got to realize if your goal is to be the best at something, there's a good chance you're never going to get there.
It's almost certain.
Yeah, it's almost certain, which means, and let's pretend you do. Let's pretend you do, right? You want to be the number one YouTuber on the planet. You know, we won't even mention any names, but you're that guy now. You're the number one. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, have you heard of this? Have you heard of Skizzle, man? He's the best. He's the absolute best, hands down. No even debates happening around that, right? Would you feel like you would be truly happy in that state, or would you be more worried about not maintaining that, or you know what I mean, like somebody coming, or maybe you got complacent at that level? I don't think you would actually reach a level of peace and happiness.
I think you're right.
even if you got there, I think you would start to worry about something else. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the unfortunate nature in being, especially a person like me who's just constantly looking to improve, is like, even if I hit my target somehow by a miracle, my target's going to change. Like that second I'm going to change, and I'm worrying about the next thing that I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then focus on that until I hit that, if I hit that. And then the next thing. And because of that, there is this like concern that I'm never going to truly be happy until I wake up and realize that it's not the finish line. It's not that thing that I should be shooting for. It's enjoying the process and the journey of working towards it and being at peace with the fact that I may never reach that. I may never reach whatever goal you have, you know, 1 million subscribers or whatever. I mean, I was lucky enough to get there, but then of course my bar raised. Yeah. Okay, now 10 million, you know, whatever. You know, oh, I'm not getting as many views as so-and-so, so I must still be doing something wrong. Your bar will change. And if you can't just accept that and realize that having that target constantly change is going to just keep you in a negative space, you got to flip that switch and realize, like, actually, no, I had a great journey, an amazing journey. And the entire time I was so worried about where it was ending that I didn't enjoy the getting there part, you know? And that's where we have to kind of start to focus. And that's what I'm working on. I'm not there by any means. I'm not there. I just understand the concept, right? That if we focus more on the journey instead of the destination, this sounds so cliche, then we would be happier. Because like I said, even if I get to the destination, I'm just going to find a new destination that I wish I was at.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because I wanted a better life, right? In regards to where I was, and where I was great. Like this is so weird. Every part. So I came from a place when I was younger to where, like I've talked about this before, money was just always a stressor, right? It was just always a stressor, and it caused huge problems. And I didn't ever want to be the type of husband or father that allowed money to be a stressor. So it was very important to me that I graduate college. It was very important to me that I graduate in a field that was lucrative, which was the tech field back in the day. And it was important to me that I make good money. And that's what I did. And so I worked at a Fortune 500 company for 20 years, and I built up a heck of a career. And I'll be honest with you, in the grand scheme of things, because I know the industry, my salary was arguably bloated. And so I was getting paid well, and I was very lucky to have that job. I really, really was. But I was not happy the whole time, because I wanted something much better for myself. I wanted to feel fulfilled, which is something I almost never felt in that job. I did feel it sometimes when I did the stuff I did there. I kind of just came off the rails and did my own things for the company, just as a kind of an independent contributor, so that I could do things that I knew the company needed. That felt good. That gave me purpose. But those were so few and far between, and it was such an uphill battle that it was not necessarily worth it in the long run, right? So my brain was like, well, Skizz, you're never supposed to be here anyways. And so you're gonna have to really think long and hard on this. And there was a lot of pushing to try to, you saw how long it took me to make any sort of traction in the content creation world. But once it became somewhat of a reality and I could make that leap, I was very, very happy. So I jumped over. So what's the problem? What's the problem? I'm making the same, if not a little bit more than I was making at my previous job after building up a career for 20 years. Shouldn't I be on cloud nine? No, because I'm still living with the fear. I still have the fear that this could all go away like this.
And it could.
You know what I mean? And it still can. Exactly. I can become irrelevant like this. I can say one wrong thing in this world and be, canceled because the world's gone completely upside down. And it's one of those things like we live in a world where we are actually not allotted mistakes. And so this is one of those things where I'm sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop, but here we are, and I still have to live with the fear because I still could become the source of financial stressing within my family if the floor fell out today. You know what I mean? I'm not at the space to where if the floor fell out, I'm like, well, I'm actually okay because I've been able to build up this nest egg. I'm realizing right now in having this conversation with you, I have no desire to be the number one YouTuber. None. I have zero. Like I could literally not grow anymore as long as the income portion of it did somehow. You know what I mean? I don't need to be more famous. I don't need to.
Or
do
if you were
anything.
given a guarantee that the what you're making now that is enough,
yes,
will last forever.
Exactly.
Basically,
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I could be given that guarantee, then I would feel like the self-improvement journey I went on was officially successful.
You're not like, I won't be happy until I can buy myself a yacht.
No.
Right.
No.
With a helicopter on it. Right.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
like
I don't need that.
Yeah. You don't need that. You're not looking at that. You just want to be able to know that you've provided for your family, no matter what.
That there was never any question.
I think that's normal. That's super normal.
Yeah.
And we do, we it's so funny that we feel like now we're in an industry, in a job that is more volatile than the one we worked before, the corporation. But honestly, I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure because we could have gotten fired from that easily at any point in time. Also,
the difference is exactly this. Yes, we could have, but it is more volatile in an interval standpoint. And what I mean by that is that where we came from, if we were going to get laid off because they were doing layoffs or something like that, often those came with warnings or they came with package deals so that you could do this. Sometimes, actually, I know this. They also came with, we worked for a great company. They also came with a whole organization designed to help you find your next job.
Yeah, they actually reached out to me after I left the company because I did take a separation package, and they reached out. They're like, "Do you need help finding a job?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good, thank you."
Right. Right. And now we work in a place to where the rug can be pulled out, and there is no safety net, there is no retirement plan, there is nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so that's where
it's scary.
That's where it's a little bit scary.
It is scary, and it, the 15 minutes of fame thing is true, and it's always in the back of our heads. So there's always that stressor. However, I feel like we're both pretty smart. I don't know if I'm patting myself too much on the back here, but I feel like we're both really, really smart. And if something did happen, so we got canceled or people just lost interest in this overnight, we would both figure out something pretty quick, and we would be just fine.
Right.
So like really, really stressing about the aftermath of something like that happening is probably not super warranted, because I feel like we would figure it out. Both of us would be able to get a job somewhere where we could be relatively happy, maybe not as happy as this, because this is like literally living our dream, right? Being content creators.
Yeah.
So we would have to kind of like, realize, okay, I won't live my dream anymore, but I could at least find a job that I enjoy. I think I could find a job I enjoy if this all came to an end overnight.
Right. And that's where I need to get my head straight. There's no real need for me to live with that fear. Not to mention I'm getting older. So my kids are becoming more and more independent, as it is. I mean, one of my children is almost 100% independent, which is a scary thing to think about. But so there's still like this fear that I'm going to fail them somehow. That really is what this is all. It's crazy. This is very therapeutic for me. I want to keep growing because increases my ability to be the provider. I like what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong here. I like growing. It's not like I don't like the fact that my channels are getting bigger. I like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When you look and your viewer counts, higher than it was a couple weeks ago or whatever, it's great. It's a great feeling, but that goes the other way too.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, dude, is that when the viewer count goes up and when you're streaming, you feel great. But if you're going to feel great, that means you're going to feel bad when it's lower, and because of that, and this is where I need to calibrate, because of that, I'm actually, I'm pulling some levers that I don't really like that I'm pulling. I'm literally not playing some games that I really enjoy because the viewership is just not there. And so it's detrimental to this empire I'm trying to build. You know what I mean? And I gotta be smart. And I'm not playing anything that I don't want to play.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you gotta be careful if you get into that space where it's like, I really don't want to do this, but it's the only thing getting me views, that will affect your content.
I don't want to, I just did that for 20 years.
I've been there. I've actually been through that in content creation.
Have you?
Where I was making videos I didn't want to make. And I thought I was masking that. Like, I thought you couldn't tell when you watch my videos, like, that I wasn't actually having fun. I thought I was good at acting or whatever. Just like, I'm pretending. I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to be there and it's going to be fine. But no, it was like somehow people could see through that. They could see like, oh, you're not enjoying yourself anymore. And and then that's where it starts to really screw you up. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, so if the thing that people were watching, they don't want to watch it anymore because they can tell I'm not having fun. Now that's going down. Now what do I do? You know what I mean? Like those stressors really happen a lot as a content creator. So I've been there. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Like when you're actually enjoying something and it's not getting the reception you want, you start to think, oh, I gotta make changes, and you just gotta be careful. Yeah, because I've been down all the paths. It feels like at this point. And there's no right or wrong answer, to be honest. Like, it's still a mystery. Yeah. Like it's still a mystery what's going to work and what's not going to work until you actually just try it.
But see, that's what makes me feel alive in this world, is the uncertainty, believe it or not. A little bit, some of the uncertainty. I don't like the fear aspect of being able to provide. I don't like that. I don't like the uncertainty of that. But I like the uncertainty of what's new today. And this is the world I wanted to be in. This is the improvement I wanted for my life. I wanted to work in a world to where every day was its own little adventure. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I love it because for me, I'm a learner, right? We've talked about that before. I love learning things, and everything to me is an experiment. Yeah. Everything I do feels like an experiment because we don't know what's going to happen. When you release a video, you don't know what's going to happen. Nope. I thought I made a good title and thumbnail. I thought I made the best video I ever made. It tanked. Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's study that, and learn from that and be better next time. It as much as that sucks when that happens, like there is a part of me that's like, gets excited about what I can learn from those, Yeah,
that's why it was so, it was fun talking to Flip last week because he was able to shed a pretty interesting set of optics on this world. And he's got, in my opinion, a pretty stellar comprehension of it. Oh yeah. Like far superior to mine. Yeah.
Real smart and real analytical. Love that.
Yeah. We could use him in Tulsa. I need that because I was driving myself nuts because I kept equating this whole, like making my life better, this improvement journey of my life, with the success of the channels becoming more and more solid. You know what I mean? I kept equating it with that. Not that I had to be the biggest. I just needed to keep going on this growth path. So anytime I would get a poor, a 10 out of 10 on YouTube, which is bad in the YouTube world.
Sounds great. Yeah. 10 out of 10. That's a great score, man.
It's bad in YouTube. You want a 1 out of 10 is what you want. But anytime I would hit that, it would just always feel like this whole journey to improve everything in my life was a mistake and I made the wrong decision. I mean, what a brutal world it is, but
and there's like a million factors that went into that 10 out of 10 that were out of your control.
Yeah,
mostly.
Nearly all million were completely out of my control. Yeah.
It's a crazy world, and I definitely think that it can mess with you. It can mess with you mentally, and so that's happened. I've gotten myself into some like depressive states because of the ups and downs that we go through, and some of it's just a natural cycle of YouTube, and I've had to learn that over the years. And luckily, we have a lot of friends. and we're very blessed to
Oh,
have
very lucky.
so many friends
Yeah.
in this space that there's typically, and this is so nice that we have friends we can trust enough to have these conversations with, because it's like, we can have that day where we get a 10 out of 10 and we feel depressed, and we vocalize that to our friend group, and they're there for us every single time. Like, whether it's just I've been there, don't worry, it'll pass, or dude, you're overthinking this. It's just that time of year. Kids are taking their finals. That like, this is so normal on YouTube. It's just, that's the, didn't think of that, Oh, dude. Yeah, I had the same problem. YouTube's, they're not pushing out notifications today. Their notification system's broken. It's a tech problem on the YouTube servers. That has nothing to do with you, but you were feeling bad because you thought your video did crap. You thought it was your problem, that you did a bad title, bad thumbnail, bad something, but really it was YouTube's system is broken.
Yeah.
And their notifications didn't go off, so nobody knew your video existed.
Yeah.
Not your fault. You know what I mean? And so half the time, if not more, there's some sort of explanation that results in it not being the thing you were beating yourself up about.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of gone through that over and over again, and it's still, I still go through it. I'm never going to fully learn my lesson, but I get it, man. Like it can be a stressor.
So let's talk about in the journey of self-improvement, whether it's a fitness thing, or maybe somebody is going for a college degree. Maybe somebody is, maybe there's a specific skill set. Maybe it's something as simple as wanting to learn the guitar. There's something about themselves that they just want to get better at. They want part of their life to be a little bit more, to enrich it a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. How do we handle hangups? Let's talk about that, because anytime somebody kind of goes on a journey of self-improvement, I think most people kind of put the horse blinders on, and when they get intense about it, right? We're going to the third level of they really want it. They really want it, right? Mm-hmm. They put the horse blinders on and they just charge forward, which is not a terrible thing. But when they're on that journey, things are going to come by and inevitably knock them down. That's going to happen. What is the best method to address those moments? Because they're coming. This is just the way it is.
Yeah, I think I always go back to, and you said like not the kind of want it, you actually want it. That's why you're going for it. I think one thing is, like we talked about, it's trying to go from 0 to 60 is a bit too much. So when you say I put horse blinders on and I'm going for it, like our brains, I don't know why they do this. They're wired that way to be like all or nothing. It is typically like a knee-jerk reaction we have. And when you're saying it's all or nothing, that means one little hiccup means you're back to nothing. You know what I mean? Like our brain can do that to us, and that's unfair. I think that honestly, I think that's our brain hoping we choose nothing, because that's easier. Yeah. Right. And so the brain's like, it's all or nothing. Oops, you tripped up. Guess you go back to not trying. That's fun.
Get on board. Get on board, brain. Yeah. Part of my brain wants good things. Why does the other part of the brain not want good things?
Yeah. So the brain's just being a jerk. So that's part of it. You just realize your brain's being a jerk. Being lazy. I think another big thing is like fully understanding why you're doing something. You know what I mean? Like that's really, are you doing something for you? Or are you doing something for somebody else? Because you think somebody else expects it of you, or you should be doing that. We hear that a lot. Yeah. You should be doing this. Social media and media in general, everywhere around us tells us how we should live our lives, doesn't it? How we should be, how we should look, how we should eat, how we should dress, how we should act. Everything around us is telling us. And most of the time it's because some company's going to make money off of that. Right. Yeah. And so here we are duped into trying to do something for somebody else, and not because we internally actually want it. And I think that if that's the case, if you're chasing something because you think somebody else might be impressed, or because you think your parents expect that of you or whatever, then you're not fully invested, which means a little trip up is going to stop you in your tracks. You got to have it be an internal mission, something you internalize, something you internally want so bad that nothing's going to trip you up. So that's what it takes.
When I was at the peak of my CrossFit days and really, really just, feeling good about everything that it just turned my life around just big time. My neighbors being like, "You've got to go shopping for new clothes," like that whole thing. And the whole thing was playing out. This next story, this is my fault for the record, but I was in there and I was doing a move called overhead squats. And to this day, I don't agree with this movement. If speed is a factor, you should not do this move fast. As much as I love CrossFit, there's certain things about CrossFit I disagree with.
A lot of Olympic moves should not be rushed.
They should not be rushed.
Yeah.
And that is I love CrossFit and I loved coaching it and everything. And when I was a coach, I went against a lot of the things that I was trained to do because I'm like, nobody's going to get hurt on my watch. It's just not going to happen. And there is certain moves that are very precarious. And an overhead squat is probably the most precarious move in the world. It's where you have a barbell with weight on it and you're holding it above your head and you do a squat. Now, this is especially for tall people because that bar's way up there and the geometry makes it way wacky. And this was my fault because I wasn't a coach yet, but I let a coach kind of get in my head to do a little bit more, put more weight on. And I should have said no because I knew what my limit was. And I went down and I felt the shoulder open up. I felt it tear. And so I had a massive surgery on my left shoulder. That is one heck of an obstacle in one of these journeys because I had to go from working up to a routine in my life of working out hard and doing my thing to I by design can't do anything because I just had this surgery. And I remember the way I managed it was if you remember this, because you were going to the gym at the same time, after the surgery, I was in a sling for a long time. It took me months to come back, but I would go in every day anyways and just ride the bike and watch you guys work out. My brain was like, listen here, Skizz, if you stop going to the gym, you're just never coming back. That's the way this is. Don't lose the routine. And that to me was a pretty prudent way to address that obstacle because life came and said, all this progress you just did, I'm going to take it all away from you. And that's what life told me. And I was like, no, you're not. You're just going to slow it down. We're just going to put it on pause. It was up to me to address that. And I think that we need to be doing that as a people, whatever it is you're going after. We talked about it earlier in the podcast. It's going to take work. It's going to be hard. What you did is called the 75 hard. Learning guitar is hard, man. And when you get there and you start getting blisters on the tips of your fingers because you've never played guitar before, well, they're going to turn into calluses. Just be at peace with the pain, be smart about the pain and see it through. And when you have an inevitable hiccup, like a shoulder surgery, or maybe in the process of learning guitar, you break a finger. I have no idea. It's up to you if that's going to derail your entire path into self-improvement. But at the same time you're doing this, you have to, this is universal. You have to pump the brakes every once in a while and recognize what you've done. Because if you don't, then you're never going to be happy, which is why I'm so,
that's the scary,
I was so thrilled.
That's the scary part is if you're constantly chasing the next thing, you're never going to be satisfied.
Yes. If you put a stick, if you tie a stick to your back and there's a string on it with a carrot and you're chasing, you're never going to get it because your forward momentum is moving the goalpost over and over and over again. You have to be able to recognize what you've done. And this is advice that even I need to listen to. You have to be able to recognize what you've done. Yeah. And because what it also ends up doing is reminding you of what you're capable of. You want to be better, that's fine. But at least admit for the time being that you're kind of awesome as is. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, you talk about things being difficult, right? Like that's what stops a lot of people from starting is realizing if whatever it is I want to do, it is going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. It's going to be difficult. You know, chances are it's going to take a long time and a lot of discipline and dedication. And that's scary. What I think gets people to actually move forward and run after and chase their goals and actually get to the end state is when your desire to get there is bigger than the discomfort you're going to feel getting there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that's what it is. It's like, it's kind of like, that sums up that whole kind of want it thing. Cause that's what that is. When you really want something, that means you're going to get through the discomfort because you want it so bad. You're okay with that. You're okay with putting up with whatever discomfort. I'm okay with giving up 3 hours of my day every day to focus on my health. Yeah. That's what it took. And I had to get there. It took me a long, long time of trying and failing before I finally got to the point to where I wanted it more than that uncomfortableness was going to cost me.
So this podcast is kind of it's kind of a cousin of the What's Stopping You podcast, right?
Like, yeah,
it's definitely related a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to kind of encapsulate what you just said is when the desire is heavier than the discomfort you're going to feel, then you're in the right track. We've all experienced that. And you've accomplished this before too. Or you can at least accomplish it in your mind. If you see a child, or maybe your child, running across busy traffic, you're not going to sit there and just watch. You're going to go out there knowing you're probably going to experience the ultimate discomfort, which is being struck by a car and dying, so that you can save this child's life, because it's ingrained in us that the discomfort of being struck and killed ourselves, our desire to save the child is bigger than that discomfort. And the reason is why that child was worth it, right? And that's what I said in the What's Stopping You podcast, is we have to remind ourselves that we're worth it. We're talking about self-improvement today. You're worth it. I need to remind myself of this. This is what this all is. I've lost sight of the fact that the changes I want to make for my life now. I've lost sight of the fact that I'm actually worth it. I'm worth taking the time and putting myself first. It's okay sometimes to put yourself first. So this is like, not only aim small, but remind yourself that you're also you're worth more if you want more. You know what I mean? You can go get that stuff. Go get that stuff.
Do it for you.
Yeah. Don't
do it for you,
else.
not for somebody else. Because if you're trying to do something for somebody else, the chances are your desire is not going to be bigger than the discomfort. So it's just not gonna. It's not usually going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, do it for you, and aim small. Just get started, get the ball rolling. Because like I said, like with my whole snowball story of getting through 75 hard, it started kind of small. You know, one little thing.
This is good, man. This is good, because the What's Stopping You podcast was just us talking about our own sort of disposition on what it is to make things happen. But we got to use this guy over here as a real world illustration of what has happened, because I was editing the Zits podcast and I was conjuring up old videos, and I'm like, geez, I lost sight of how much of a difference you made. I mean, it was incredible. So it was good to see a real life example of that, and then be able to walk the talk. And like I said, I had to conjure up my own journey from many years ago just so I could participate in the conversation. But everything is still very applicable. This is kind of like a What's Stopping You reboot is what this is. And the third one, we've actually had another What's Still Stopping You. Yeah. But this one was more focused on the actual art of self-improvement, right?
Yeah, the steps.
Yeah, the steps on how to do it. A lot of good stuff. So there you are. You guys, you know what? I do this every time, and I actually, believe it or not, I do read them. I don't leave a comment right now. Think on it. Some of you are actually thinking about doing something. You're thinking about doing something. And when you decide what that thing is, then I want you to leave a comment. I want you don't.
The simple act of leaving that comment could add a little accountability.
It could, but I want to hear what your first step is. Yeah. Right. What your aim small is. I want to hear it. Yeah, don't even. You can tell us the whole journey. That's fine. But I specifically, I want to see things like, I will walk into the gym doors today. I will walk through the gym doors today. Even if you just walked right out, I will walk through the gym doors today. I will shop for guitars today. I will, you know what I mean? Something I will get this book on whatever subject you're interested in. I will at least research what that book is today. You know, something to that effect. So aim small and let us know what it is. That'll be cool.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
It's a good one.
All right.
You guys are the best. See you next time.